All right, so I gotta try to tell this story in like a cohesive manner. All right, so this is a long, twisting story, and it happened in 1999 back in Alabama. I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama, and in 1999 I was 20 years old, and I was installing alarms for ADT. It wasn't actually ADT, it was like an affiliate of ADT, and I was with one of my best friends who got me the job there in the first place. So let me set the stage here a little bit. So Jason had an Acura Integra, but it was wrecked. So he was driving my 85 Ford Thunderbird that had kind of been passed around in the family, right? But it was an extra car. I was in my mother-in-law at the time's Subaru Outback that I was in the process of buying from her. I hadn't paid her for it yet. I had a Honda Accord, but there was a hose that had busted in it, and it was like back at the house. I couldn't get a replacement hose for it. We tried a bunch of different things that didn't work. So I'm in this Subaru, he's in my Honda, or he's in my Thunderbird, and we're out here like in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, right? So the whole gimmick with that job was you got to use your own vehicle to go to these different jobs and stuff. All right, so I'm gonna try to explain this as best I can. We both work for the same company, and we were working in this area that was in North Mobile County, but it was also in like eastern Mississippi, right? They were, it's just across state lines. Lines are imaginary, right? So this road, it's a country road, it's paved, it goes for a good ways up there, and then it stops, and then a dirt road picks up after that. Well, the way it works out was like, so if you go to up the dirt road, you can get to the highway you need to get over into Mississippi. If you go the actual paved route, it takes you about 20 miles around, right? So anyway, that day, Jason was working on the Alabama side, I'm working on the Mobile side, or the Mississippi side. So we get done with our jobs, right? And Jason calls or pages me, right? Because we didn't even have cell phones at the time. So Jason pages me and is like, hey man, the Ford's broke down over here. Can you come pick me up? I was like, sure, I'll come pick you up, dude. We'll go knock these two jobs out. We'll kind of tag team them. So I get out there. He's on the paved section of that road, broke down in my Thunderbird. So I'm like, man, we'll figure it out later. We got jobs to do. We got work to do. And this job was like, it was like hustling, man. Like we were constantly going. So I go pick him up. We go finish the job. And then on the way back, we were like, man, the quickest way to get to, and this is already getting dark. It's probably 6 or 7 o'clock. And this was November, right? November 99. So it's like 21 years ago this month. It's already getting dark a little bit earlier and stuff. So we were like, hey, we'll cut down that dirt road. We had saw it on a map and save us, probably an extra 30 minutes of driving. So as soon as I turned the Subaru onto that dirt road, like immediately the car died. Like it just died. Didn't know what was going on. I was like, man, what in the world had happened here? So after tinkering with it for, 15, 20 minutes, there's nobody out here, right? There's nobody. There's no houses, there's no nothing. It's a dirt road at a T-bone intersection in the middle of the woods. And like we kind of figured like the fuel pump had to have went out in it. And we kind of thought that from the get-go, but like on that Subaru, the fuel pump is inside the fuel tank. Weird design. So Jason had the idea. We didn't have any cell phones at the time. All we had was pagers. So Jason had the idea, hey, I'll get to a payphone and call my wife at the time to come pick us up. I'll hang out with the car, because we had a bunch of all of our tools and equipment was in this car. So Jason gets a ride from somebody, goes to a payphone, calls my wife at the time, and puts out an SOS, right? So, and then he gets a ride back out to me, and the guy that came back was like trying to help us and everything. So we're sitting out there for like hours, right? So it's like pitch black at this point. Well, we finally decide, okay, we can't stay out here all night. You know what I mean? Like we're in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to explain where we even are. It's a little bit easier these days because you got GPS and everything, but at that time we didn't have any of that. So we were like, okay, well, we know if we cut down this country road for, X amount of miles, we're going to get back to a more populated area. It's not populated, but it's more populated than where we were. So all we had was like a headlamp and this is like an old school headlamp, right? There was no LEDs. So we had a headlamp. I think I had a hammer, and I think Jason was carrying a drill because we didn't know where we were, right? So that was all we had on us. And we take off down this dark dirt road, and man, we're walking for what seems like forever, and it's pitch black. The battery on the headlights going out, and man, we get to like this weird bridge. It's a good thing we didn't go down that road driving, because like we get to this bridge, it's like 2 4x6s, maybe it's wood, but there's only 2 planks that go across the bridge. So if you're not perfectly on that, you're falling, 10 feet or so into this, little creek or stream or whatever it was down there, and you're stuck, like you're not getting out. So, and that's way back in the woods. So anyway, we get past that and we see a car coming, and we're like, what the hell is going on? We had been hearing weird stuff all night, and it was a sheriff's car. So he pulls up, you Jason and Billy? We're like, oh, somebody put the word out for us, right? So we're like, yes sir. So he's like, I'm glad I found y'all. And we are too, thank you for finding us. It's like the one time you need a cop. So yeah, he picked us up and took us back to this gas station where my wife at the time was. She had gotten out there, and I guess she got to that bridge and was like, I'm not crossing it. Thank God she didn't. She had my son with her at the time too. Like, thank God she didn't. And she turned around and went back up there, and they agreed to call the police to come and get us. But man, it was like such a wild night. And the cop, and I don't know if he was just trying to scare us, because we were young at the time, right? I was 20. I think Jason may have been 21, 22. And he had said that they had recently found bodies out there on that road, like tied to a tree. And I don't know how true that was, if he was just kind of screwing with us, or if it had happened, years before that. I have no idea. I don't know the story behind it, but he did tell us that. So we were like, dude, we got kind of lucky, being out here in the woods. And so anyway, the next day or like pretty soon afterwards, like my brother worked for the tow truck service back there at the time. So I called him, told him what the deal was, and man, the poor guy, he actually came out there and got both of my vehicles back to my house. So in my house at the time, I had 3 broken vehicles, all from this job. Because man, we just ran nonstop, man. We would literally work 20 hours a day, 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week at that job. And so anyways, as soon as we got a vehicle that was working, I went and got a cell phone. Jason went and got a cell phone. That was when we were, for us anyway, for me anyway, it was like, dude, yeah, the cell phone is a necessity. And and I need it for safety reasons, because that was a pretty scary situation. And it's like, man, it was just a terrible month. So I had all 3 of my cars broke down. Me and the wife ended up splitting up like literally 2 weeks later. And Jason didn't have a car. His car was crashed. So, I mean, man, we were kind of in free fall there for a couple of months. But thankfully I had, I did have some money saved up and everything. I got a new car out of that, got the cell phone out of that, and we got back to work within, a week or 2. Probably needed that break, to be honest, but man, that was a wild time and a wild night. It was called something, I don't remember what it was called, but I think it was like at the end of Lot Road, right where Lot Road ended, and then it like connected up to Highway 98. I think that's where we were. I'm not looking at a map. This is all coming out of memory and a brief conversation with Jason last night. So anyway, that's the story on getting lost on a dirt road in the middle of the woods in Alabama in November 1999. That kind of avalanched into like changing my life for the next couple of years for sure. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, because me and Jason got a bunch of crazy stories from that time period, so hopefully we can get together and do a couple of more, because man, there's just some fun stories, and I know I have retold those stories over the years, and it'll be kind of cool to put a face with the name on those stories, because Jason's a mess. He's a character. Anyway, all right, take care guys. Thank you. Peace.